In this chapter, we're going to talk about non-destructive editing using adjustment layers. Now, adjustment layers actually have been around there for a while. So if you're relatively new to the program, you may not know that there was a time in the history of Photoshop, just like there was a time we didn't have layers, is that we didn't have adjustment layers. And they were dark times, but I want to tell you, it's fun now. Now, this also helps me fulfill a commitment I made to you earlier in these chapters, where I said I would teach you this program, show you lots of cool things, and we would do those things non-destructively. Anytime you can do anything non-destructively, that makes perfect sense. Now, I am in the Essentials workspace, and so I have what I need. The two things I need are the Adjustments panel right here and my Layers panel down here. If you don't want to change to Essentials, and that's fine, but you don't see maybe the Adjustments panel or Layers, you can get it right up here under the word Window. Don't forget, everything is there. Now, I have an image open from our working folder, and it is 609_3408335.jpg from our friends at Photospin. Cool stuff. You should check them out. Let me go ahead and double-click on the hand tool, and that'll put the image into a space that fills that screen, make it a little bit bigger. Let's do this too. Let me pick up Layers, and I'm going to pull it over here so we can see it. And I'll leave the panel over here for adjustments where it is. I won't move that one. Now, I did mention to you that there was a time in the history of Adobe Photoshop that it didn't have adjustment layers. If you want to go back to that time, you still can, but it is destructive editing. Let me show you that real quick. Let's say we go up to the word Image on the pull-down menu and go down to Adjustments, and there they are. And say we decide to do a black and white, kind of a fun one. So we come in here and let's just do something simple. We do a lighter, and we like this. We're happy with this. We click OK. Well, we've just changed the physical image. We have destructively edited the image. Now, if you never make mistakes, or you never use the eraser on your pencil, you never use the undo key in programs, then I guess that would be okay. But if you're like me, I change my mind, and I do make mistakes. So this is not the way I want to go when it comes to adjusting an image. And this chapter is all about these adjustment layers. Let me undo that. I love undo. Let's do it the smart way. Now, there's two ways we can accomplish this. One would be by clicking this little half moon icon right here and choosing one of our adjustments from here, or you can do it if you know the symbolism over here by clicking on these icons. Let's just do it over here. And let's do the same thing, black and white. Now, the difference is we don't get that floating box coming up. Properties opens up over here automatically, and there's the same features, but they're over here. If we decide to make a change, and I think you know where I'm going with this. Wow, that's an interesting one. Let's go into maximum black, and we like that. So we can close this down by clicking here. Now, let's say that we close this image down and reopen it in a week and realize that we don't like what we see. So we say, well, I kept the original file. I mean, I didn't destroy the original. I'll just have to reopen the original and start to work again. But what if you did something more than a simple black and white? What if you did all kinds of things destructively, and now you got to start all over again? So you can see the advantage of using these. If I come over here, and I just don't want this thing anymore, I can click here to turn it on and off. If I double click right here, it reopens the properties over here. I can change my mind on the way I want it to look. That's a lot better. And I can click here, and I've got it. Adjustment layers give us that kind of control. Now, if you don't even want it anymore, wish you'd never done it, you can drag it right down to the trash can right here, and you can start all over again. I love adjustment layers. Let me show you one more. If we click here, the top three, solid color, gradient, and pattern, are actually three of the most aggressive of the adjustment layers. I mean, they're really aggressive. Let me show you something. I'm going to go to Swatches, and I'm going to pick one of these sepias down here. When I click it here, it changes it down here. Okay, that's my foreground color. Now I'm going to go back here and choose solid color. So what it did is it chose that color based on the foreground. If I don't like it, I can come over here and change it to anything I want. But if you know the color you want up front, it makes sense because it'll be easier for you to get to it. Click OK. And basically, we now have a layer that is just that one solid color. Now, as you can see, you can't see the image underneath it because it's opaque. We could use opacity. But to me, if you do that, it's kind of like looking at the image through a dirty window. That's not really what I want. We can go back into our blending modes. Now, if you've been following along in the order of these chapters, we did talk about blending modes. I love these things. If you go down to color, for example, it would colorize the image based on that layer. And there are other ways to do what we just did. I mean, you don't have to use this adjustment layer to do the same thing non-destructively. However, it's there if you need it. Again, if you don't like it, you don't want it, just go ahead and get rid of it. And we're back to start. Adjustment layers are for non-destructive editing. Total control over the image. No difference in the end, whether you do it this way or you come up here and you do it this way, except for one thing. It's non-destructive.